Ladies, welcome today. Welcome. So, I am going to be doing this series on blessing billions, like really amazing faith filled business owners who are blessing other people with their business, who are running their business, just faith led with their values out front. How are they doing that? And they're also going to share all of their amazing things. So, today we've got Camille
Hello,
Davis. She
hello.
is amazing. Hey, Cami, welcome.
Hello. Good to see you
Yes.
guys. No, I'm happy to be here. And it's I just had a student this morning that got taken advantage of by another investor. And she went to an attorney, and the attorney said, don't trust anybody. Don't trust anybody out there. And I thought, that's exactly why I started doing this, was because I think the majority, I don't want to sound like the whole world out there is not trustable, but just in today and in real estate, and when you get money involved, you do find people that are working for their own interest and not working to help other people. And so I just had this overwhelming couple years ago, I had this overwhelming thought and feeling that just kept coming to me, that I needed to go out there and just be a true, authentic, truly helping people, and somewhere where you could trust, like someone who you could trust. And I tried to reassure her this morning. I said, but remember, you have me, and I'm going to help you. And I'm going to do this for the right reasons, and we can fix this because I know what's going on. so, so
Yes.
that's why I'm doing this, right? That's why we're here today. Is we need more people we can trust, and we want a safe place, and we want to be successful. We all have the same goals of being out there for our family, providing a legacy, true wealth in our lives, and true happiness. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I have found a way to make that happen, and it has changed my kids' lives, and it's changed my husband's life. And so why not?
Yeah.
Why not share it? All help each other.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're so
Yes.
excited. We're so excited. So let me introduce you a little bit more
Okay.
about who you are. So we've worked with you a little bit on some other projects in the background and things like that. But I just love Cami because you are who you say you are, right? Like you genuinely care about people. You're working to help people, and you're super successful at the same time. So Camille's been investing in single family real estate since 2011, and since that time she's done over 500 real estate transactions. She's got over $11 million in holdings right now. And tell me how many properties you do rentals to, like over 60, was it 65 rental properties or something?
Yes. Currently have 65 single family homes, and these are nice homes. These are homes that you, in neighborhoods that you would live in. These are very nice. I
Yeah,
love it.
so
Yeah.
super nice rental homes that
Yes.
you've had, and you use so we're going to talk about your process in just a minute on how you get into those,
Yes.
because it's really exciting, and I know a lot of our ladies are going to be like, yes, tell me more. And then you also, though, you're also were able to, doing all of that while you have a family. You have 4 kids, you're able to serve at church, you're living the life of your dreams with you and your husband, and then you are able to serve not just at church but create this networking group, and you've got so many different things going on. And I think for so many of us that is the dream. You are living the dreams. And yeah, so today I just want to kind of pick your brain about how all that works and your process and all of that. But where I want to start is, oh yes, I think maybe you already answered it, but like, why did you decide, why real estate specifically? Like, what was kind of your beginning of, um, like how maybe, yeah, why did you want to do real estate in the first place? And then how did you kind of stumble on the specific way that you do real estate?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, because I never knew. I thought about realtors and real estate, and I really thought that was a boring thing to do. I knew I didn't want to go just showing houses and then someone saying, "Oh, I don't like that backsplash." And so I knew, but I never really knew this other side of real estate that I do now today. And I really do think it was a divine thing that just was in my life at the right time. So I was working at MD Anderson, the cancer hospital. I was a nurse, and I quit my job to stay home with my first baby. And this was the hardest decision ever of my life. I didn't think it would be that hard because I knew I wanted to be that stay-at-home mom. But when it came down to it, giving up my job and something that I had worked for all my years of college, my whole life, pretty much. Well, what at that time it was my whole life.
Yeah.
And so I quit, and I did feel like I gave up my identity. I felt like I gave up my thing that I was good at. And I'm here with this baby, and I'm happy to be home with my baby, but I was really bored, right? Because babies sleep a lot. You don't talk to anyone. You're home alone with this baby all the time. The baby doesn't talk to you. so
Right. Yeah.
um, so I happened to read this book that my mother-in-law sent me, and she was working for a real estate investor at the time. And she said, "Can you read this book? We're about to predict. We're about to what's it called? Uh, before they
Published.
produce it, publish.
Published. Yeah.
I'm like, produce, I can't think of the word. Publish. They're about to publish it." And she said, "Can you just read through it, make sure I didn't miss any spelling errors or anything?" Which I'm not great at spelling, but I read this book, and I'm reading the book, and I really don't understand anything in it. I remember it saying, "Get the deed, get the deed, get the deed." And there were multiple chapters of it saying that. And then it was talked about all these different creative things. But the thing at the end of the book, it talked about tax sales and how county taxes can foreclose and their first lien position are superior over a mortgage. So if the taxes foreclose, it wipes out the mortgage. And I thought, whoa, so you can buy property for the price of taxes. That's kind of what hooked me, because then it said Texas was the best state to do it in. And I thought, well, I'm in Texas. So
Yeah.
then I was intrigued, and I went to, I go to my husband, and I'm like, wow, I just read this. And of course, he's like, it's not that easy, I'm sure. Like, you're getting way too excited. This is way harder than you think it is. That's what everyone tells you, right? And
Right. Yeah.
so he's like, you need to know everything before you ever go to that tax auction. So I researched it
Sounds like
all.
similar conversations with my husband. I just laughing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have this new idea. And he's like, pat, pat, right?
Yes, yes. And they're the logical side, right? And I'm
Yeah.
the like, oh, we could do this. And so I did research it all. I had 10 properties that I had researched, and I went to this auction, and I watched at the very, very end of the auction. Of course, I don't know what I'm doing. I finally find all the locations, and I saw one go. It was property close to me in my area. At the time, it was only worth 125,000. It sold for the price of taxes, which was $19,000. So someone
Wow.
bid. They bid 20,000. No one else bid against them. They got this house. It was an older home, and it was empty. And I just thought, did I just see that happen? Like, they just
Yeah.
bought this house for $20,000. So I was intrigued at this point, right? I was like, whoa, that happened. I saw it happen. I went to a bunch, like maybe five more auctions after that. And of course they were going a lot higher. And so I started thinking, why did I see this one go for 20,000? And then the next auction I had money. I was ready to buy. I had 20,000 that I borrowed from my parents. They all went higher. They all went like 60,000. So the auction I happened to go to was 4th of July, because it's always on the first Tuesday of every month. That's when my husband was off of work, so I was able to go, and he stayed with the baby. And so from there, I learned, okay, well, I just happened to hit this awesome auction, but then I started learning this whole other side of how can I catch these guys before they hit the auction and cut
Mm.
out the competition. And then I started, when I would go drive those properties and try to go find them and go find the owners, then I started finding all these other empty homes. And then from there, I started contacting owners and finding them on Facebook or LinkedIn, and then calling them up and saying, hey, how can I help you? And then stopping it before they hit the foreclosure. But I do remember driving, and I'm trying to get all my kids to sleep. I had three of them at the time. So this was a few years later, a couple years, 2 or 3 years later. I had all my kids like 18 months apart. So had three babies. I'm driving in the car, and I find all these empty homes in my neighborhood. And so then when I went home, I researched them, and 10 of them had different mailing addresses than the actual property address. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to write them a letter. So I had this yellow notepad next to my computer, and I wrote, this is what I wrote. I'm like, I'm not a realtor. I'm your neighbor. It looks like this home is empty. I'm not sure what's going on. I don't even know what I would do to help. I know nothing about real estate, but maybe there's something I can do to help. And I put my number and my name and sent it in the mail. I was a little embarrassed about this letter that I had sent out. It wasn't the nicest. It was very kind of vulnerable, actually. And I got a call back in 2 weeks. The first call, she said, "You can have the house for $1,000." She's like, "It's yours. I'll sign it over to you." And that's when I was like, "Whoa, can you
Yeah,
do
oh my gosh, like,
that?"
I have to stop you there, first of all, because
Yeah.
your that's actually really brilliant. What you did is just writing, because oh, I did a short stint in life insurance and mortgage protection insurance, and I'm calling all these people that just bought their house, and all of them are like angry. Not all of them, but a lot of them are angry because people are bugging them all the time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's so many people calling them being like, "I'm going to buy your house. I'm going to buy your house. Let me buy your house. Let me buy your house." Right? And they're getting bombarded with these people. And they're like, "Are you here to buy my house?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not here to buy your house." But I think that vulnerability was like so key, that you were just like so honest. "Hey, I just want to help you out. I don't know
Yeah.
if I can help you, but let's have a conversation." And on that yellow notepad, like, you're not some mass person who is going out sending 200, 1,000 things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, that's really brilliant, actually. And then you got it for $1,000. How does
Right?
I have $1,000. How does
Right?
that work?
I
Tell us a little
know.
bit more.
Isn't
How does
that
Because
crazy?
that's your thing now, right? That's like the thing that you found. So
That
tell
is
us
the
what
thing
that
that
is.
I
What's
do
that mean?
now. So then, of course, I did go research it, and I did find out, oh, I can get the deed. Well, and that book came back to my mind. Get the deed, get the deed, get the deed. And I thought, oh, okay, I can get the deed. I can give her the $1,000. So the thing at this time, this was 2010, and the reason these homes were all empty is because it was after 2007. All of these homes were just sitting. The market had gone down. So basically, this home was worth 160. No, it was worth 140. She owed 160. And
Oh, wow.
that's why it was sitting there, is because she had a job transfer in Corpus Christi. I'm in Houston, and she had to just leave the house because she couldn't sell it for what she owes.
Right.
So, well, through a title company, right? So if I was willing to take over her loan, and that's what I learned, is she can deed it to me. I can take over her payments, and I don't have to pay off that loan if I don't go through a title company. So you can use an attorney. Of course, I just drew up the deed myself. I'm not recommending that everyone draw up the deed themselves, but I was like, okay, I'll get the deed. So then I went and copied the deed to the first home that we ever bought, because I'm like, okay, I know where the deed is. And I just looked to where I could find the legal description, and I changed the legal description, and I changed the names.
You just
And
threw it together.
I did. I really did. I look back on that and I think, wow, that's crazy that
That's really
I
gutsy. That,
it
yeah.
really is. But sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes that's better, right? Sometimes it's better not sometimes. So then I went and filed it myself. I researched where you can file deeds in the county clerk in Houston. And I go down to the building. It was 2 pieces of paper, and I take it into the county courthouse, and it was on the 6th floor, maybe the 4th floor. So, and I had my kids with me at this time. So when you go into the county building, it's like you're going through the airport security at this time. So I had a double stroller with my two oldest, and then I had one baby strapped around me, like those wrap things you can
Yes,
put
yeah.
on. So then they make me take everything off so they can make sure I don't have any weapons with me going into the county building.
With
They
your
do the
strapped in between you and your child,
the
right?
metal detector. I know. So I'm like, are you kidding me? So then I had to take my kids' shoes off. I had to get them all out of the stroller. So I finally get up to the 3rd floor or 4th floor. And I remember the kids were being so bad that I know everybody around me was like, what are you doing? Actually, no, this was another deed, because my husband was actually waiting down on this one. So sorry. That's not it. That was another deed that I ended up filing later. But so I go up there, And I put the piece of paper up there, and I was really nervous because there's all these attorneys, and they're all got their suits on, and they got their big folders of all their stuff. And I go in there with my deed. I don't know if they're going to tell me that I can't do that or if I'm doing something wrong, but I just thought, okay, so I just set the paper up there. And it felt like 30 minutes, but I'm sure it was only like 10 seconds. And the lady was going through and marking things on the paper in pencil. And she went through the document, and I'm just thinking, man, I hope I don't get in trouble. And she stamps it, and she says, "You want a copy?" I said, "Sure, give me a copy." So I
Absolutely.
felt like,
I've done this 1,000 times.
I felt like I was like robbing the bank. And what's funny is when I went down to tell my husband in the car, I told him, I'm like, "They took the deed," and he said, "Well, get in the car, let's go," you know.
Like run out of there.
So
Yeah.
he thought we were robbing the bank too. And he
So
was so
good.
scared of it the whole time that a year later we ended up refinancing the house because he was afraid that a police officer was going to show up or we were going to get in trouble. And so but it worked. It worked. So basically we did refinance the home a year later because he was just so nervous about it the whole time. But then I was like, wow, I got the deed. And then to refinance it was so incredibly easy because I already owned the house. So it wasn't like a second home purchase where I have to have 20% down and I have to have 20% in reserves. And because I had the asset and I already owned it. So then to refinance it was very, very easy, which I would not even refinance them today. I would just leave the loan
Wow. Yeah.
somebody
So
else's name.
I know so you also said, I know I have like so many other things I want to get to too, but like this is amazing. Whenever I heard you talk about it before, I was leaning in too because similar to you, here I have my partner is a real estate investor. We do funding for real estate deals, right? And I honestly am very new to real estate and looking at all of the different options. I never really saw one that I was like, ooh, that's what I really want to do. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, other people are doing that. I don't know if I'll ever really get into real estate. But I had also been reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and just the power of having a residual income, even if it's just like $200 a month or $500 a month, just that power of which we can't go into like all of that. But instead of fixing and flipping, you just have something that's coming in every single month, and how in the long run, that's actually building more wealth in many cases. And so then I was like, well, how am I going to get a rental property? And then you told me about this, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's like blowing my mind. Where like you got into your first house with $1,000, then you paid the rent. You said you didn't have to pay off the loan, like whenever you buy a new house, you have to pay the whole thing off.
No,
right?
I didn't pay it off. So that was the beauty of it all. Is I just thought, wow, what did I just do? Because I didn't have to have any money. I mean, well, I guess $1,000, but the home was in great condition. So she had just left it. It wasn't like it was tore up or old. It was a newer home. So the payment on it was $1,200 a month, and I could turn and rent it for $1,600.
Yes, yeah.
And I got a renter in there so fast, basically just putting a sign in the yard, like because I wasn't a realtor. You're right.
Right.
So I just went and got a sign. I even hand wrote on the sign. I got it at Home Depot or Lowe's, one of them, and they had the for rent sign. And so then I just put my number on there, and I had 5 calls in a week and had a renter by the end of the week. And I mean, because it was beautiful. I mean, she just moved into the house. It was in the neighborhood that I lived in.
Wow.
Right. So
wow.
it was nice.
Oh my goodness. So I have like 1,000 more questions, but I think drop in the comments below, guys, if you want to do another interview with Cami and just have her kind of go through a little bit more of the details on this, because it's fascinating. But I absolutely love how gutsy you are and how it shows, what your husband said, like, oh, you're going to have to research. This is going to take a long time. Like, that's what holds everybody back is,
it does.
It's going to be so much. You have to have so much money. It's going to take such a long time. It's this, it's this, it's this. But you're just like, well, hey, this thing dropped in my lap. I wrote on my yellow pad of paper. I sent the paper in. I had $1,000. and then
Yeah.
I just put a sign on the door, on the, just super, super
Exactly.
simple stuff.
Exactly. And so I basically had 30 homes in 4 years. 30
Wow.
that I was then renting. In that 4 years, I probably had 150 deeds. So like then I would have them sign the deed over to me. Then I would go see if I could work something out with their loan. Because not everybody, most of the people were upside down. So I just said, okay, give me the deed. It doesn't hurt you to get the deed. Then you go say, let me see what I can do. Let me see if I can fix this. But yeah, in 2 years, I had replaced my income as a nurse, which I was already staying home. In 4 years, I had replaced me and my husband's income
Wow.
in 4 years. So, and then I would just see people at the grocery store, and there was this lady that was like, I'm working 2 jobs and I'm a single mom. And I just in my mind was like, wow, if I could just
Help
help
these
them,
people.
if I
Yeah.
could just help them, if they only knew what was on the other side of this wall that everyone hides from us. This whole other world of real estate, and then I had people tell me, "Oh, don't share this. Don't tell people about it because you found something amazing. Why would you share it?" So then there was a while that I was scared to share it because I did tell someone I did it, and they were like, "Oh, that's illegal. You can't do that." And it's totally not illegal. Um, there's no jail for going and getting a deed.
You proved that. You got
It's not
absolutely.
illegal. Yeah. So, but I got that reaction all the time that I would tell people, title company agents, like anyone that I would tell, they were like, "Oh, you're kind of shady." Like that's kind of gray area, right? And it's really not. They just didn't understand it. And it's
Yeah.
because the title companies don't want you to know you can do it because you're not closing with them. The
Because they're
mortgage
not getting
company,
percentages off of it and
yeah,
all that. Yeah,
the mortgage
100%.
company doesn't want you to know you could do
Yeah.
it. The real estate agents, they're just taught to not do anything like that. And so it works. And I
Yeah.
can see why, because if you're not doing it right, it could be bad for somebody because that does stay on their credit. If you're going to go tell them you're going to pay their loan and you don't pay their loan, then it does hurt
Right.
them. And
Yeah.
there's nothing they can do because now the title is in my hands and that loan is in their name. So you do have to be careful and you have to do what you say you're going to do and do it the right way, and then everybody wins.
Yeah. Well, so let's go there too. We've got about 5 minutes left, but I wanted to ask you specifically a couple of things. One is your top values, right? Like you're saying this particular business, it requires you to have certain values for it to work and for it to win for everyone. And so what would you say are like your top three or
Yeah.
four values for you?
I truly believe, because for me, this was never about money. This was truly about what's going on and this curiosity, and it was truly about helping. So I think when you go to a seller, for me, it's not, I don't have a plan like, oh, I want to get this house and I want to make this money and I'm going to offer them this. It's like, no, I talk to them first and I say, what is it that you need? Because it's not always money. Like
Mm-hmm.
they might just want their furniture out of the house, or they might just want their credit saved, or they might, maybe it's their mom's house that they inherited and they just like, well, I just want to take care of it for my mom, but I don't even live in the state. I'm like in New York and I'm not even in Houston. And it's like, so if, as long as you're, I think this is with anybody in any business and in any area of your life. It's like, as long as you're helping another person, there's always going to be value back for you. Even if you just feel like you're doing it for free and you're not getting anything right then and there, always by giving to somebody else and helping somebody else, it comes back to you in some way. Even if you
Mm-hmm.
don't realize it, it does. It always does. Um, so I think helping, number one, helping, being honest, do what you say you're going to do. I don't want to go to bed at night. I have my 4 kids. I don't want to be worried about things that I've done because I didn't do them right, or I wasn't truthful, I wasn't honest. So integrity, and solving problems. Everybody has doing something for someone else that you would hope they would do for you if you were in that same situation. If it was me and I didn't know who I could trust and someone came to me, I would just treat people good, right? It seems so simple, but for whatever reason, it doesn't happen a lot of times. People take
Yeah,
care of themselves before they take care of someone else. But if you can flip that, I promise you, it always comes back to make you more successful. Always.
that is so, so beautiful because I think there's so many of us who we want to serve. We have a heart for service. We have a heart for building God's kingdom. But there's so many that I don't know. There's just so many mindset blocks that we could totally go into about like you want to be able to serve, 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 but then it's almost like I guess I do want to ask you that question. Okay,
Yeah.
so many people do go out there and they're serving, 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 but they're like they never get ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think? What are they doing wrong?
Yeah, because then there's always that side of you got to create boundaries because you can only give so much, and your cup has to be full for you to be able to go fill somebody else's cup. And I do get that to a point too because I am a giver. I am a people pleaser. Like I want to just help. And sometimes I have to come back and be like, oh wait, now if somebody did that to me or they offered all this stuff, if I flipped the tables, would I feel right if I were on their side? Would I feel right taking all of that with nothing in return, right? Because I'll just
Uh-huh.
give with nothing in return. And I think that's just a perception because maybe you don't get anything now, or maybe you think you're just giving, 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 and nothing's coming back to you. But it's just time frame because it will always come back to you. Like it's kind of like the well, I love the story of Les Mis. I had read the book when I was first married because I didn't have a job and we were just moved to Houston. And I don't read that often, actually. I'm not a reader. But I happened to pick up Les Mis because he had it. My favorite story ever is Les Miserables. Like, especially where the priest, where he gets out of jail after 18 years or whatever it is, and he's labeled as this thief when he really stole food for his family because they were starving. So I mean, I wouldn't really categorize him as a thief, but so he gets put in jail. He breaks out and he goes to this. Nobody would take him in because now he's labeled as this awful person. So he goes to this priest's house, and the priest offers him a place to stay and feeds him. And then it talks in the book how he's laying in bed and he keeps seeing this light shining through on these golden candlesticks. And you're so disappointed in the book because he ends up taking the candlesticks and he takes off the gold. And the police come the next day and they basically say, oh, we found these in his bag. Like, or they find him and they bring him back to the priest. The police. And the priest, I love this. The priest was like, I gave them to him. I gave him the candlesticks.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was like, wow, that's amazing. Because if we looked at life and everybody around us as when we think, oh, they're taking advantage of me or they're going to take advantage of me. But if we were to look at it and say, you know what, I would have given it to him anyway.
Yes.
That flips your whole emotion, that flips your whole mindset. If you are always worried about everyone that's taking advantage of you, then guess what? They're going to take advantage of you because you're thinking about that all the time. But if you can flip it and be like, you know what? Who cares? If they take advantage of me, you know what? I would have given it to them anyway.
Yes.
And it changes. I promise you, it changes your mind. It changes your emotions. It changes your actions. And something about that confidence and something about that feeling of just feeling good, because now you're not bitter and afraid of the world and everything's going to go wrong. It
So
just
many.
starts bringing in good. Like it really does.
So many scriptures are coming to my mind though. That's so beautiful because and you are like one of the things that I've learned from you just like in conversation. I know you're just like always radiating like you don't even realize what you're doing, but like the what I've learned from you is like in a conversation we had before, you had said something like, well, basically like if this opportunity doesn't work out, another one's coming my way. Like opportunities are always coming my way. And I think that's the thing that has helped you be successful. It's like, if I serve people, it's going to come back to me. And it reminds me of this scripture I just read yesterday from Romans 8:28. We know that all things work together for your good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. And so I love how you're just like, yeah, I flipped it back. I said, well, I was going to give that to them anyway, but they can have that. I give that to them. And I'm not
Yeah.
going to let it hold me down. I'm going to serve people. I'm to my capacity, and I'm going to serve them generously, and it's all going to come back to me. Like, those are really, really powerful, beautiful thoughts.
Oh, I love that scripture, and I know our time's up, but you know what? That is number one. Is God? He knew, and I feel confident that He is placing things in my life, even the bad things, even all the things in the past. My nursing made me a better person to be able to help people in this time of need, right? My schooling, everything had a purpose, and it was meant to be. And all of us have a purpose. It's way bigger than we realize. And and yeah, I put God first, and I give because He gave it to me anyway, and it's not really mine. Everything that I have is not really mine. It's all given to me. So why not go give it to somebody else and help somebody else? I mean, the whole purpose is for us to become like him. And I say I want to be like Jesus, and I don't want to sound like but sometimes I'm like, well, he gave to everybody, and then I sometimes I do have that feeling of, well, I gave all this, and I picked up this homeless lady the other day and I let her live with me, and it was like a week. And then it went kind of crazy, and then I tried to go take her downtown. I mean, she was fine and stable for like a week. And then all of a sudden started talking to herself and maybe had schizophrenia, I don't know. So then I was going to take her to a shelter, and she refused to go, and she walked off downtown. And I felt so, I'm like, downtown Houston, I wish I would have could have dropped her off closer to, and I thought, why did I feel like I wanted to help her? Because did it really help her? And I kind of questioned my own judgment, and I questioned why I did that. But then I thought to myself, we and then I thought, well, Jesus would have taken her, or would have helped her. But then I thought, also, he also could see into people's souls, right? And I can't see into people's souls. But it didn't hurt me. I felt bad that it happened, but I learned more about homeless people, and I learned more about the shelters and how there wasn't any shelters available. And now I want to go create more shelters. Like, I want to go help make more homeless shelters and help women like that. So was that a bad thing? No. Like, maybe it didn't
Yeah.
turn out the way that I wanted it to turn out, or maybe I thought that I didn't see the blessing at the time. But there always is. Anyway, but yeah,
No,
we gotta.
I love, and that was what we needed to hear today. And I think it gives us all permission to, because I think we do get so worried about, like, oh no, am I serving too much? Or like, am I giving too much? And so we hold back, and then that holding back, it closes us off to receiving from our Heavenly Father, from God. And I just love how successful you are, and that is your top value, and that's the reason you're so successful, because I think it gives us all permission to just lean in and give, just like it says in the scriptures, turn the other cheek, give him your coat also. And all of it, if we let it, all of it will come back to us and be for our good. And God
Yeah.
is going to turn even the evil towards our good, like he does so and so many times in the scriptures.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Cami, sorry to cut you off, but Cami,
No, you're
can you
good.
tell us, I know a lot of people are just listening to you too, and they're like, this woman is amazing. And they'll want to work with you, because I know I do. So tell us, what do you have going on? How can people connect with you and potentially work with you?
Yeah, so I did start teaching this a couple years ago, and that's been a whole nother story, another process. But I do have coaching, and I do have a women's wealth collective, which is really a lot like what Michelle is doing too. I love that. It's for faith-based women in real estate or business, and I love just taking people's what they're good at, finding what you're good at. Like, for example, Michelle is great at helping put things processes into place. I am not great at processes. Like, I must have them because I do them, but I'm more of a like an action taker. And then my husband, if he wants me to write it all down, I'm like, I can't write it down. I'm sorry. Like, this stresses me out. So having somebody and using other people's gifts, like we've all been given gifts and things that we're great at. Let's go help fill those gifts in other people's lives. And so so yes, I have, it's Women's Wealth Collective. So it's Women's WC on Instagram. It's also Women's WC on Facebook. And then there's my personal Facebook page, which is Camille Andrus is my maiden name, Andrus. Camille Andrus Davis is my personal Facebook page. But yes, so Instagram, I do have a website, womenswealthcollective.com. And I just love what I'm doing. And the more I can teach other people how to do this, the more people we get to help. The more people in distress and the more people that can't sell their homes, we get to save them all.
Yeah,
I know
sounds
it
great.
sounds altruistic, but that's it. That's the reason I do it.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for coming on, Cami, and let's go save them all. Let's go.
Yes,
Great.
save them all. Let's save the world.